Now that I have that, I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to jump my hands over the keyboard, so then when it starts recording, I'm already there. Ready? Not recording yet, but now it is. And so on. So I recorded something, but my timing wasn't on. Some parts I was too slow or too fast, this type of thing. Not only that, I can't see this very easily, you know? And so if I want to be able to deal with things, I have a big screen. Well, I want to make it bigger so I can see it. So first thing I can do is there's these little zoom functions right up here. And if I click to the right here, click on this little button, it zooms in and gets larger on the MIDI. If I click left, it gets smaller in a horizontal fashion. If I click this, it looks like it does nothing. It really does stuff though. It just doesn't do it in this view called clips. Okay, so we'll see that in a second. If I want to change the size of the clips, the best way to do that is just to click right below the track. Here's the track and going right below it, and it creates this little up and down arrow with a notch line in between it thing. Once I get on that, oops, I click on that, and while holding, I drag down. See, and it shows me a bigger view of things. Okay. There's a shortcut for this too. If I hold down Command on an Apple computer or Control on a PC and hit the right bracket or left bracket, it goes in and out. One more thing is, say this is the entire length of my piece, and I really never want to, have more than this. I can just click on this here, normal zoom here, and if I click and drag on the stuff I want to hear, it'll zoom in so that fills my screen. So I just click on something and then pull and drag across it, and now it makes that fill my entire screen. I'm going to Apple left bracket to get there. Oop, notice this. Oh no, not good in timing. Okay, so we're going to fix that. A little bit more about zoom real quick though. Clips show us everything we recorded, the entire range of what we recorded. So if we only record one note, it's going to show very few piano notes up here. If we record in a huge range, it's going to show a huge range for this piano roll. This piano roll isn't going to change size from manual changing with this up and down. Okay, the only way it changes size is by how much content you have from high and low stuff. It does it automatically. If we want to change it individually and see what's happening vertically in here, we have to go over into Notes view. Here, notice we now have a really small view, but if I click up here, it zooms in both on the notes as well as the piano here. Okay, so in Notes view we can do that. In Clips view though, it's always going to show us the entirety of the vertical width of what we've recorded. Great. Well, let's now fix what we have and quantize it. I don't need to really have this zoom tool connected anymore. I'm just going to click on this hand tool so I can select something. And then I'm going to go to Events. Events is a place where whatever happened, we can mess with it in ways. I'm going to go to Events. Then I'm going to go to Event Operations and Quantize. Quantize lets me fix what I've done in time by locking it to these grid places. Notice, right? We have this this grid line right here, but my music isn't hitting that grid line. In order to fix the MIDI events we have and make them appear at the exact right time we want, we need to know a little bit more about the speed that things are played, or tempo, and about how beats work. So every time I'm hearing the metronome click, this click sound, let's go ahead and mute the organ. So every click of that is the main pulse or beat. And those things, those main beats, are called quarter notes. They look like these little golf clubs here. Now, if we're playing things that are faster than the main pulse, they're going to be smaller note values that are listed by these musical notes. So the next fastest one is twice that fast, called an eighth note. Next fastest is a 16th note. And if I'm playing things that are only the same speed as this quarter note or main beat, when it's going dut, 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 if I'm only playing like chords or notes or something every time I hear a click, then I can just quantize things to quarter notes and it'll fix the timing perfectly there. But if I'm playing things twice as fast as that, maybe it's going bip, bop, 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 but I'm going dut, 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 playing faster rhythms. Then in order to make those faster rhythms be accurate, I'm going to need to change to eighth notes for what I quantize to. Okay, so where do I do that? Well, that just changes how the meter counts, but let's look at the place where we do that. I'm going to go over to the left a bit here, and we have this thing where it says grid, and it shows quarter note there. Grid value. At the moment I have a quarter note value, and look at what happens here. Here's where these chords are individually, and I expect them to hit here, 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 and here, but see, they're a little bit offline, some of them. So let's hear what that sounds like. I'm going to re-enable the mute, okay, and then watch what happens. You hear sound right there, but right in this line and this line, they're kind of off. Each of these is supposed to be a quarter note long, but later on I have these little notes here. These are faster ones here, so I need to make sure that those are accurate too. Since I have things that are smaller than quarter notes, here's smaller ones too. See, they're not things that are just this whole length, but they're shorter. Since I'm doing things that are faster than the main pulse, I need to change my grid line. So I'm going to go to grid here, zoom up in there again. Make sure that it's the grid in the first place is using bars and beats rather than minutes, seconds. I'm going to go to eighth note now. And notice now it has all these extra grid lines. Let's undo that again. If I put it on quarter note, see, not as many. Boom, boom, boom. Here we have them. Now it's going to be twice as many if I have eighth notes. I could have even more too if I have, a ton of stuff that I want to be very small things I want to be locking it to. But probably eighth note or 16th note in general is going to be the best one for you to use if you're not sure. Now I can lock my music to those more finely created lines. I'm just going to click on this with the hand tool then and just try to do what the default has. I'm going to go to Event Operations, and this one, Quantize. Okay, and I get this up here. And it has default settings. I can just ignore most of the rest of the things, and it'll be fine if I just hit apply. Now, there are a bunch of other helpful things in here. This just basically tells us, make it line up to where the note starts, what's called a note on. This just says keep it the same duration that it was when you recorded it. So that's fine, it's just going to move it to where it needs to be. This is the quantized grid. Oh no, I thought I already fixed that. No, well, that's the grid that shows up on the timeline here, but the grid that it's actually going to quantize it to has to be selected from here. I have all these different options. I'm going to select the same one as I have on my main timeline, eighth note. Notice here that I have a lot of other choices, and I even have these things. These are templates for doing more complicated things. Toplet and all these other ones here, these give me some more advanced options which we can talk about later. Swing, I can actually give it a jazz type of feel by hitting swing there. Here I can just tell, do I completely fix everything or just mostly fix it? Do I only fix some things that fall into the right parameters? Like if it's almost right, let it just be ignored and only quantize when it's pretty far off. There's lots of nice nuances you can do there. Again, I'm going to totally ignore everything basically except for making sure that this quantized grid is eighth note. Now watch here. Watch these little beginnings here. They're going to line up to the grid line where they're not there at the moment. Hit that, and there they go, all lined up. So that's really nice. Let's exit out of there and listen to it. Well, it turns out that there actually were a couple notes over here that were faster than eighth notes. So I'm going to hit Apple Z, Command Z, or Edit, Undo. And then I'm going to try the grid line to instead, let's look at here for 16th notes too. Maybe these little guys here are 16th notes. It looks like that. See that? Almost the right value, but they're supposed to be 16th. So I said, well, that wasn't quite accurate. It kind of destroyed what happened in some of my notes. I undid that. I go to Event, Operations, or I can hit the shortcut here, the Apple buttons that says Option and 0. I'm going to change this to be 16th note. Okay. Now when I look at these little notes, they shouldn't be all pulled so far away. They should go to the little line right next to each of them. Let's hit Apply. So that probably will be better here. Fix everything I have. Now these will still be separate notes as opposed to being locked together. Good, so everything's fixed and quantized.